Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today's special guest is Jim Dietz. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
You're welcome. And hey, look, it's a pleasure, and I'm so excited to have you on because several times have I been running with a group of people, and I meant to tell you on this, I call it the pre-show. A few folks would be like, "Have you talked to Jim Dietz?" I was like, "I don't even know Jim Dietz," and so I've heard about you a lot. And Jose Lopez has mentioned you several times, and
Yeah.
he's been wanting me to get you on as well. And I guess a few weeks ago, you come up to me and goes, "Hey, are you Chris?" And I was like, "Yeah." And you introduce yourself, and I was like, "Sweet, I've been wanting to talk to you, actually."
A meeting of the minds at a Plano
Yeah.
Pacers race.
Yeah, at Plano Pacers. I love Plano Pacers, by the way.
Great group. Great group. I've been running with them since probably 83.
Like, I've known about them for a long time, but this is my first year to start running with them, and I'm impressed.
It's a well-run group, great volunteers, great guys that have run it over the years. You can guarantee it's going to start at 8 o'clock on the last Saturday of the month. You're not going to get a short course ever. The courses are marked. Ken Ashby will never let you have a short course. If you want to run 5K, you're going to run at least 5K or whatever distance. After you run, you go to your car to get a Gatorade, and the results are already uploaded. It's amazing. It's a great group, and it's 12 races a year and workouts throughout the every Tuesday there's workouts and there's prediction runs, and it's really a great group.
Yeah, and it's not expensive at all. It's $60 or less. Yeah, for the year. And I was like, "I think I got a family." So I signed up my son and my
Yeah.
wife, and so it's a little more than that. But yeah, it's like ridiculously cheap. One race will cost you $50 in
Right.
general.
And a lot of them they have a lot more logistics with police
Yeah, they're
and
great.
all that. But if you want to just test yourself, and in the winter, you'll be going longer. In the summer, you'll be going shorter. And if you want to read it, yeah. And you can have a high level of runners out there. There's been world-class runners come out there. A lot of people have run through Plano Pacers.
It There's impressive runners there almost every time. So I'll tell you a little story and we'll get into your journey, I promise. I'm 50 and a lot of times I can go to these races that have 3 or 4,000 people in Dallas and potentially even get first in my age group at
Right.
50. Just out of hundreds of people, I get
Right.
first. I'm fairly fast. I'm not Jim Dietz fast. We'll get into that in a little bit. But if I go to Plano Pacers, at best, I'm going to get third place in my age group.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys show up, a lot of serious runners that are and they're in the woods a little bit, and they come out and they show up there the last Saturday of the month, and here it goes.
Yeah, it's an impressive group and impressive runners come to that. And so no doubt about it. And I was just talking about that the other day. Now, look, like I said, a lot of people have been talking about you and I've been looking at some of your times and they've been impressive. When you came up to me last week or 2 weeks ago or so, whenever you and I had a conversation, you were like, "Yeah, I used to work at, what was it?
Yeah.
TI." Can't get the two letters out of my
Yeah.
mind. But you used to work at TI and you were telling me a little story about how you guys used to run and stuff like that. So I want to hear about that, but I want to hear about how you got into running specifically
Yeah.
and just let's start talking about it.
Okay. I started running in 1980. I was in college. I was 20 years old. I saw a movie about a guy running the New York City Marathon, and I'm from New York. I grew up in
Yeah.
Queens, and I said, "Man, I want to do that." So I went out and ran that day, and my family were pretty athletic. My sister was a very good runner, and I went out my first day, and I don't know what I did, 8 miles or something. And I'm
First
like,
day?
yeah, I was fit. I wasn't a
Yeah.
great athlete, but I was fit, and so I started then, and I guess I never really stopped. And I say that because even though I've had times where I haven't been running,
Yeah.
a runner is a runner. In the back of your mind, if you're a runner, you still want to run again. I started in 80. I ran in college for 1 year. And when I was in college, I was in upstate New York. It was brutal cold at Clarkson University. And I received a snail mail from TI. They wanted me to come down and visit them.
Yeah.
And I came down in January to visit them. It was 75 degrees in Dallas, and now it was below zero, I'm sure, where I was going to school. So I said, "Man, this is the greatest place in the world. I got to come down here." Now, to clinch it, at that time, corporate running was
Okay.
big enough that there was big meets out in California every year, regional meets in Dallas and other cities. And it was a postgraduate area that collegiate runners ran in and competed on. There's obviously, the really top guys were trying to go professional, but a lot of people would get into corporate running after they graduated. And TI had the best team. And on Runner's World magazine was a picture of a lady from TI running. and I read the article. I'm like, man, oh man, this sounds pretty good. So when TI recruited me, I'm like, I need a job, and
Yeah.
it's warm, and I can run. And
It's good company too.
it's a great company, great company. And so I took the offer, came down, and it was a couple of days after I started. I went over to the Texan Activity Center, and TI had leagues and clubs for everything back then. I started running at lunch. I'd run like usually 7 miles at lunch. And the amount of talent at TI back then, distance running, sprinting talent, it was legendary. We'd have workouts at lunch there was guys who were all Americans. I was one of the slackers in the club. I was like a 4:16 miler. And there was,
16.
there
That was
was,
fast back then. Really?
well,
It's still
well,
fast.
but you had Jeff Roth. He'd been a 4:02. I don't know if you ever heard of Jeff Roth. Jeff's still in the area.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. His son even was a great runner, but I think he came in second in the Dallas Marathon once. And so he was out of college, and we had another guy, Danny Lyon, who I think was all American in 10K. So a lot of times these guys would show up at lunch, and we would just go after it every day at lunch, workouts that I can't even imagine now. And it was fun. Well, that's what it
Yeah.
was. Then you would go to corporate events. There'd be a national meet out in California where there'd be even greater talent at Stanford.
This is all sponsored by TI.
It's TI funded it. TI
Okay.
funded it. Other companies funded it. You worked for a living. I was an engineer, but I worked hard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they would fly us out there and put us up. And there'd be other things throughout the year. There was called the Manny Manufacturer Hanover races, which then became Chase races, where there'd be regional championships in Dallas and around the world. And the winning team would fly to New York City and run a race in New York City, Park Avenue or something.
Jeff, I feel like TI is like was before their time. Like they were just really
TI,
doing some cool things.
Yeah,
back then.
there was other clubs like that, but TI, they had somebody that I believe what they had was an attitude of healthier workers are probably better for the bottom line, they're better workers. A lot of times I'd be running, and I'm an engineer, and I'd be trying to figure stuff out, and I'd figure it out while I was running. So that break in the morning to the afternoon,
100%.
So that was, we had a lot of talent on that team. And there's one memorable race to make the traveling team in some of these distance races, though, they'd have time trials. And
Yeah. How
they
fun.
once had us go to Plano Pacers when it was up on Jupiter Road, back when Jupiter Road was as far north as anybody went. And we went to a Plano Pacers race, and the top 10 people in the race were from TI because it was a time trial to see who was going to make the team. So it was like a war. So it was a lot of fun. And there was a lot of talent around the DFW area besides TI back then. But that's how I got started. And I just ran a corporate event. I'm retired now, but I just ran a corporate event for TI in May down in Houston. So it's still going on.
You started and finished at TI, like your career?
That's what I tell people.
Oh, okay.
And what I mean by that is I worked at TI in 82 to 97. And then TI got out of the defense systems. So they sold that to Raytheon. So I was transferred to Raytheon, and I was there for 2.5 years. And I came back to TI in 2000 and was there until I retired.
Okay. So pretty much.
My employee number never changed. And I think I was a TI my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much, besides the 2 years. And
yeah,
I don't know, like the difference, I'm sure there's a big difference between Raytheon and TI. It's still a big defense.
Yeah. And TI was huge in defense before the Cold War ended.
Got it.
I think we had one time had 30,000 people working on defense, if you can believe that.
No.
But everybody was doing defense back then. So that's a little bit of my early career and then how I got involved in Dallas and how I started meeting a lot of the people and stuff like that in Dallas.
What kind of races was kind of your specialty back then? What did you kind of focus on?
Yeah, the mile and yeah,
and
I'd run
your best
10Ks and stuff, but yeah.
Back then, mile was big. Maybe 5Ks started to get big.
They started to get big. I'd say before probably 83 or so.
Yeah.
You had 10Ks were really almost every 10K or 5 mile or 8 mile or 8.2. Sometimes it'd be odd distances. Like the turkey trot was 8 miles, right?
Yeah.
Still going on. Yeah. And
Dallas,
5K
anyway.
kind of came on and it opened up racing to a lot more people because 10K was somewhat challenging. And a 5K and a 10K, there's a lot more thinking going on in a 10K. So it's easy to,
10Ks are tough, man.
10Ks are tough, especially in the weather. When you get hot down here, 5Ks nights, you can think, I can make it through this somehow or other. Yeah. So I was like a 5K and 10K. I did a couple of marathons, but I'm not a marathoner. And I think
because you do a lot of 5Ks now. Now, did you What was kind of your best kind of times and stuff? Out of
I ran
curiosity.
a 15:11.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah, when I
impressive.
was younger.
You're still killing it. Like you're hitting 18s and stuff
Yeah,
faster.
I'm
I mean,
still
how old are you? Like 65, right?
65, yeah.
Yeah. And you're still hitting 18s and better.
I go into 17s when I'm in shape.
Exactly. That's
So,
great.
but I do
How do you maintain that, man?
it's this is what do you say, not suitable for anybody else. My training style is not what you recommend to people if you're a coach.
Right.
Okay. I enjoy running a lot and I enjoy challenging myself. So my training strategy, and Jose Lopez even tells me about this. He goes, you can't
Yeah.
run hard like that all the time. I'm older than Jose. I could tell him what's what.
Yeah. You're a little bit older.
Yeah. So I generally run hard and easy every other day, which is not recommended by
Oh,
anybody. So I'll have a tempo, and I do a lot of tempo runs, a
yeah.
lot of tempo runs. I'll do 5, 6, 7 miles hard and with maybe a warm up or something. And then the next day might be 6 or 8, relatively easy. And so that kind of always keeps you sharp for me. And I enjoy it. I just enjoy the challenge every day of setting a
Nice.
goal. Yeah. I don't do back in the day when I was younger, I would do a lot of track work. I go to the track, but I don't do track work now. I go to the track to set pace, and I can understand my pace pretty close. But I don't do a lot of quarters and stuff like that anymore. I do a lot of what's called fart, which is just maybe run a 5,000 on a track with the first 1,000 hard and then a 100-meter relative break where you drop back 10 or 15 seconds a mile pace and then you pick it back up again and just do these types of workouts just for, I enjoy it. So that's where my being able to maintain my pace comes from, I think. Just doing a lot of stuff like that.
Let's go back. So in your 20s, you ran a lot with TI, and did they continue on with these races for a while?
Well, sure, sure. They were going strong until 2000. I, it was still big in 2000, in early 2000s, and then maybe mid to late 2000s. And then they don't have national meets anymore. They do have regional meets, like I said. There was a Houston meet in May down in Houston with TI and other teams down there, but it's not nearly as big as it was. Although they still have the P Morgan Corporate Challenge. I think that was just a couple of weeks ago. And then if you are in that, your team does well, you still go to New York City for a meet. They still have that. Yeah, they still have it at a lesser level, but it was really big. You would get
Well, there's so many out there now, so it's hard
yeah.
to kind of
There's a lot
compete
of
with
there's a
that.
lot of options now, right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of other different things to do. The cycling wasn't as big, I'd say, back in the day.
Now.
It is now. Lawns and stuff weren't really big, and trail running, I'd say, wasn't as big. So now all that stuff is there's alternatives to athletes for people to challenge
There's all
themselves.
kinds of things out there. I love it though. I think that's great. And it does seem so, correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like, and maybe it's just because it's my generation, and I just don't know because of what you just said, but it feels like there's been an explosion in the running community over the last several years. So, I know it's been going on for a long time. Obviously, you did it in the 80s, and there's a big group of people that were doing it in the 80s. But it seems like there's races for everybody. There's like I'm looking at these running clubs, and there's literally 50 or 60 running clubs in DFW. And
Right.
like I look at this one running club, Run It Up, for example, and they only run a little bit, let's 5K, but there's literally hundreds of people there every time. And you have Pegasus, you have the Sloths, you have WRC, you have Fort Worth, the
Well,
Cowtown, the Plano Pacers, the Plano, all kinds. I just keep going on.
Prosper's got one. I'm up in Prosper.
Yeah.
Prosper's got a running group now. Yeah.
So it feels like everybody's running.
I think it is. I think one of the differences probably is there was less groups back in the early 80s,
Yeah.
but they were probably, I'm going to say, more exclusive. And by that, I mean, it was much more competitive and the world's opened up more. And there's a lot more people that are competing now. You can't get into the New York City Marathon now, except for you have to have a lottery or have a time. Or
That with
something like that.
Boston, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dallas sells out. The
Dallas
Dallas
now is selling
BMW
out.
sells out. Yeah. So, if you're not locked in, when you start thinking about that in October, it may be too late to get into Dallas,
That's
which
right.
is a great race, great put on. What a great team.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah. So I think it's a lot more people. It's a lot more inclusive now. And I've heard you say it on another podcast, that the COVID lockdown kind of running remained an option.
Yeah.
To get outside was a good thing, and running remained an option. And some people maybe got introduced to it that hadn't been experienced before. It's a social thing. It's a healthy thing. It does good for your mind, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to one race director and he's look, it started to really boom in 2018, 19, right? It just you start to see a big uptick and then obviously during COVID it just died. And then
You have to find a race. You have to find a race, and you were able to find some of them, but they were under the radar.
it was difficult. You had to spend some time and effort actually finding
Yeah.
something that you can go race. But then he did say it took a little bit after COVID because people were still a little bit hesitant. But now he's a man, it's all full on. It's hard to even keep up. Yes. As you look at then, so you're running 5Ks, miles, and stuff like that. Did you ever get down to what was your best mile? Was it the
416. Yeah,
416? Okay.
416. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. They just did the marathon or the trial. What was it? The deal to go to Tokyo this weekend. I don't know if you watched that, the Olympic kind of stuff. No.
You saw that kid?
Yeah,
It's the most amazing performance of a high school athlete ever.
I know. Like it was a 1500. What was it?
Did
Yeah,
the 800. He did. He
800.
800
That's right.
and
That's right.
142, which is the fourth
Yeah.
fastest time in the history of the United States, the 18th fastest time in the world. And
Yeah, and he's 15.
he's got to go back to school as a junior here in a couple of weeks.
I saw that. I
Shocking.
watched it actually.
Shocking
So
performance.
I think that what do you contribute to or attribute to all this fast speed nowadays? Do you think it's technology or people are just getting faster? People are always getting faster, right?
People are
Always.
getting faster. Yeah, people are getting faster. It's not news if people get slower. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's more people at work, and there's going to be unicorns pop out like Cooper House, and so the shoes definitely make a difference. When I race, I wear the carbon plated shoes, and when you put the first time I ever put a pair of on, I felt like I was cheating. I was willing to cheat if that's what it took.
Everybody is.
Everybody's wearing them. It levels the playing field, so that helps. I think that's probably a big part of it, the shoes. But when you raise the bar, when you see somebody else do something like it was before the super shoes that high schoolers started breaking 4 minutes again. That wasn't done for a long time, and now there's a wave of them doing it.
Yeah, it's crazy now.
But somebody had to break back through that they hadn't done it since the 60s. And all of a sudden, I think it was Alan Webb was the guy that did it. And now you have I think there was 2 guys from one high school did it this year. So it's shocking. We had a guy from the Dallas-Fort Worth area do it a couple of years ago, Reed Brown. So when people start to see that barrier broken down and it really doesn't mean that much, there's a lot of psychological stuff in running where you're mentally not sure if you can go through. But if you see somebody else can, let me see. I'm probably not going to die, so let me try this out and see what happens. And
Somebody else did it.
somebody else did it. Maybe I can do it. Yeah.
There's this guy at Plano Pacers. His name's Mike. You know him, I'm sure of it. He's about 59. He's an attorney, lives out in Plano-ish
Oh,
area,
Mike Held.
I think.
Yeah, Mike Held.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I talked to him and I can never beat him yet. I get close. It's
Like
like
a runner. Yep.
he's a great runner.
Yep.
And I was like, I know I'm going to beat him one day. Like maybe it's because he's getting older and I'm not.
Yeah. He's not slowing down
9
that
years
much,
younger.
though. You'd have to speed up or get in shoes or something like that.
But the 5K, I've got to try to. I was sticking with him for the first mile or two. So it's what you said, and then he beats me. But it's kind of like what you said. Okay, I'm going to stick with that guy. And then I'm doing it for a minute, and then he still beats me. But eventually I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he turned 60 or 60. I don't know, whatever. I'll beat him
Yeah.
one day. That's
What
why.
challenges you to say, maybe I can
Just-
be a little more uncomfortable to try
Yeah.
to stay a little closer to him. And yeah, that's what you got to do. Yeah.
And I have been doing a lot of those 5Ks this summer just to help in my half. But so did you ever get into half marathons or full
Oh,
marathons?
yeah. I do have
Okay.
marathons. My season I've done 3 marathons. My first one I did when I was in college. I had a guy I ran cross country with, and he was heading out to the West Coast. I was coming to Texas, and he had a car. And 2 weeks before the Boston Marathon in '82, he goes, "Hey, you want to run Boston?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And we were bandits. We didn't have numbers.
Yeah.
And so 2 weeks before it, we figured we should probably do a long run. So we went out and did a 14-miler, and we figured that'd be fine. And we went to Boston and ran it. And that was my first marathon unofficially.
Did you
And
hate it?
I loved it, except for
Really?
23. I made it to 23 miles pretty comfortably. And then I had a
Okay.
struggle for the last 3 miles. And it was a real struggle.
Yeah, those last 3 made you probably feel like death, basically.
I made it all the way through the hills and Heartbreak Hill and all that. And then I really struggled. I liked it, but most people really enjoy the marathon. They challenge
Yeah.
it, I think.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit different in that to do the marathon, but I like to do other things. I like to race throughout the year and challenge myself throughout the year. I usually treat say September to February as my long distance season. I run half marathons in Dallas. I do like the Austin 3M. I do the DRC, the Dallas, the Austin 3M, Austin International now. And then after that, I've done Cowtown a few years ago. And then the rest of the year, I start doing 10Ks and stuff and wind my way down to the miles and then wait to build back up again. So I do half marathons in the season in Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the half marathons myself. I've got one coming up in September. It's a downhill in Utah. So I'm,
Okay.
cheating a
Right.
little bit.
That's
But
okay. Yeah.
look, I want to hit really fast. I'm trying to hit a 125. So we'll see if I can
Right.
do it.
Okay. All right. Very good.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, do you have a specific half that you like the most, or
I think two of them I like the most. I love Dallas. It's a great operation and I love the city and I'm out here in Prosper in the sticks.
Yeah.
I love Dallas and I know the logistics of Dallas and the logistics are pretty easy. I've done New York City. Those logistics are pretty hard. And then, so I usually do that. And then I'll go down to Austin and in the third or fourth week of January, I'll do the 3M. It's now called the Austin International, which is a
I did it
fun
last
race.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun race. I like that. Yeah.
It was tough this year because it was so cold and windy.
It
I was
was
like,
it was cold. Yeah, I remember at the starting line, it was 28 or 29 degrees at the start. I'm
And windy.
okay with that. And
Yeah.
windy. I'm okay with that at the start because I know I'm going to warm up. I'd rather have that than 65. So I do those. A couple of years ago, it was a corporate thing. I ran Cowtown with TI. So that's what I do. And I don't do too much of the traveling ones, not for any reason other than I get my fill of them in Texas and I enjoy the ones in Texas.
How do you train for a half? What's your kind of philosophy?
Year round, I probably do say now, I got a little hamstring problem came up a couple of weeks ago and I finally started to take time off and I'll just take time off until it goes away and I'm biking. But this time of year, I'll do 50 miles a week. But the second it gets cool, I'll start doing 60, 65 miles a week. And I'll do that week in, week out. I'll get a couple of 70-mile weeks in there, but most of those runs are pretty intense. I might go the whole week and get, say, 65 miles, average 6, 7 miles for the whole week. And so there's a lot of long runs, a lot of long, I say long for me for a half marathon, 8, 9, 10 milers at a pretty good pace. And that's what I do. I just
6,
decide
7 or 8 minute miles?
7-minute miles. Yeah, I'll do the whole week. We'll average 7-minute miles.
Pretty fast.
That's the answer to your question. That's what I
Yeah.
do. I run a lot of stuff at sub 7-minute pace.
That's crazy. And it works for you though.
And it works for me. It
You've
wouldn't
been
work
doing
for
this for a long
anybody else.
time.
It wouldn't work for maybe somebody else, but that's what I do. And then you get a big boost. This weather we have here now, while it's relatively good for Texas, this is
Still hot.
It's still hot. And the big thing is the dew point, humidity. But the second that dew point drops into the 50s, the 40s, all of a sudden everything feels great. And so you get that boost. And then if you've built a nice base in the summer, you naturally just have to stretch it out a little bit. But I don't do 20 milers. I rarely do stuff over 12 miles. Rarely. I don't need to.
I feel like I'm similar to you. It's funny, not exactly because I don't run that fast on all of my miles, but I like the idea of 10 miles being my long run.
I think you could do half marathons on 10 milers. There's no problem.
I do too. Yeah, I'm running 40 miles a week. And for me, that's going to be enough because I remember running, I can go run a half marathon pretty quick every month if I wanted to.
That's the thing about
And I
halves. You can do that.
Yeah, exactly. K or 5K for sure. You can just go every week.
You go every
Maybe
week.
twice.
Yep. Yeah,
You know,
I do.
I know.
I'll run 2 hard 5Ks in a week. No problem.
Yeah.
But you can
What-
do that, and I think it's successful. Yeah.
So now when you go to some of these races, are you trying to win them or when you're
I'd say,
tough, but
yeah, I don't try to I don't try to win. I generally don't want to win a race. And the reason I say that, and sometimes I do, because I probably won't push myself as much. I always like to chase somebody. And so I'm generally competitive in my age group,
yeah,
but
of course.
I'm not going to, you go to the Dallas half marathon and there's a lot of people in Dallas, but
What are you running nowadays? What's your half marathon time?
just under 120. Yeah.
Dude, you're probably winning all your age groups.
Yeah, I generally do. Yeah. Yeah.
It's say nobody, but it's rare to find somebody 65 plus hitting 120s or below.
Yeah. There's part of it is some of them don't run anymore.
Yeah, of course.
That's part of it. And I have this hamstring injury. I stay generally injury free. Or if I do get an injury, I'm able to cross train. Like I'm biking now, and I'm
Yeah.
biking with as much intensity as I would if I was running. So I don't lose cardio at all. And yeah,
So one thing I want to talk about is consistency. You've been doing this for a really long time, and I mean,
yep.
you've stayed injury free. One, let's talk about the injury free. Is there anything specific you do? Is it the cross training? Anything you can contribute?
I get this question a lot because the amount of people in the age group go down as you get older. And I use the analogy of, let's say there's a guy in the NBA, he's 7 foot tall, and they go, "Hey man, how'd you get to be 7 feet tall?"
I don't know.
I didn't do anything. So this is what I was blessed with. So my biomechanics are, I have flat feet, I have Morton's toe, but I'm able to run pretty much injury free. I had a stress fracture in my femur last year, but that was because I was overdoing it. But I'm generally injury free. And I think it just has to be, that's a good car. That's one that was made on a good line. It's a Honda versus a car that has problems or
Or
something.
Toyota, whatever.
Or Toyota. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a car that's the first one off the line and they're still trying to get the tolerances down. So I'm able to run and it doesn't seem to bother me. And I bounce back pretty quick from workouts. So it's just
Do you,
something I have.
do you
But
find as
I don't stretch. I don't stretch. Don't
yeah.
cross train unless like I'm doing now because I got this nagging hamstring. So now I cross train, but I don't do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I don't.
Yeah. I don't feel like you're a good influence here on the audience.
What's that? I'm not a good influence.
I said you're being a bad influence here.
Yeah,
No,
right,
I'm just
right.
joking.
I am consistent though. So I do.
Talk about that. I guess my question is, you could talk about consistency. It is really hard for all those years from you were doing it as a high schooler all the way until today. You're
Yeah, I've taken
65
some
years old.
time off. There's a story, a sub story in there where
Yeah, let's do it.
I've always been a runner since I started running in my mind, and I've always wanted to run. But there's been times like towards the end of my career, I quit running and I put on a lot of weight, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And of course, because I was eating the same. But the key was I retired and I said, I got to get back into shape. And I knew a trick that would work. If you exercise, you lose weight. I knew it worked. I didn't have to believe anybody or anything. I had that experience by myself.
Yeah.
So I started walking. I started running more. I started losing
How
weight.
much weight did you gain? How much?
60 pounds.
Damn. Okay.
60 pounds. But when I started running again, when I retired, I haven't
What do you retire? 60?
10 years ago.
Oh, 55.
Yeah, 55. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. I was blessed for that for different reasons. So I started to get healthy again and get priorities in my life right. And I knew it was going to work. So I did it. And slowly the weight came off and
You didn't stop.
I didn't stop. And weather doesn't faze me. Hot, cold, whatever, hills, whatever. I'll go out every day. I go out every day. It doesn't bother me. If it's
Sounds like
rain,
my wife.
yeah, I'll go
She
out.
doesn't care.
No, I don't care. I don't care at all. I got the clothes. I got different shoes. They get wet. I got different shoes in rotation. No problem. So I'm consistent, very consistent. Yeah.
How long did you take off?
Took off over 10 years. Yeah.
No.
Really did. I was racing pretty competitively and when I was 43.
Okay.
And then I started to fade out and didn't run consistently. And I picked it up at 55. So I took 12 years off.
Oh,
Yeah, almost
okay.
12
You picked it back
probably.
up at 55.
I picked it
Yeah,
back
keep-
up at 55. Yeah.
I think at that time, life can get hard, right? Who knows?
Yep.
People, it's funny because I look at some of these college kids that did amazing things in college and they get scholarships and they go out and they're now having to provide for their family, have a family, find a job, and just throw them. And it's hard. And a lot of what I've seen too is I didn't really start running. And I ran in high school and stuff, but I really didn't start running until I was 37. So I quit in my 20s and then just didn't pick it up again until 37. Really, I never did that much distance. 5K was probably the most, 10 or whatever. But I saw a lot of 40-year-old men realize, oh my God, like I'm just really overweight and out of shape and I better get doing it. And I find that 40-year-olds plus are way into more running. It's so competitive.
Yeah, it
Crazy.
is. Yeah, to win your age group in a Masters is getting tough, right? Yeah, there's a
I'm
lot
not
of
going to
guys
win
out-
Masters anymore.
Every time you flip over that 5-year barrier, you got new hope, right? 50, 55.
Well, now it's
55.
all right. I'll get a chance in the 50s.
Yeah.
But so that's interesting. So the consistency for you, You took off 10 years, which is quite a bit, but how do you feel now? I know you're slightly injured. Sounds like you're slowly getting injured every now and then. Like last year you're injured, now you're
Last
slightly
year was
injured.
overused. This year, I just turned 65, so I was pretty intense this spring, very intense,
Okay. Yeah.
trying to do some times when I just turned 65. And since I don't take stuff off, it's been going on for 2 months. And I finally
Okay.
just decided I'd like to be injury free, bug free. And I know it's going to go away. It is not that
Yeah.
severe. It just hurts. And
Yeah.
so I decided, hey, I might as well take the time off now. It's hot. I'll bike. I won't lose too much fitness, and
Yeah.
I'll be back on it. And I can get serious about going longer in the fall, which is the nice part of the year to run. This time is just putting in your miles to be able to enjoy the fall.
I agree. Like if you can get some fitness into the summer, man, you're gonna be like you said earlier, like you're just gonna be flying or feel like it anyways in
Yeah. Oh, you
the
will.
winter time.
Yeah. You go further, faster, everything. So it's a more enjoyable.
Yeah. Can you name a race that you just was the most amazing race? What's your best race ever that you can think of?
Well, best race ever. Good question. I tell you, I I like Dallas. I like the Dallas half marathon a lot. So
Is there a specific time, like a
yeah,
year that you ran it and you're like, "Oh my god, it was so good
yeah.
because of"
I ran it was a couple of years I ran it this last year and I didn't do that great. But I think it was a couple of years ago I ran like a
pretty hot, by the way, this last
one
year, but yeah.
yeah, that's got me. Maybe it was 2 years ago or 3. I ran like a 120. It was 3 years ago because they changed the course 2 years ago too, and it was
Yeah.
longer. So it was 3 years ago. I think I ran a 120:23 or something. And I felt strong finishing. And even though I've done faster than that down in Austin, Austin's a downhill course.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great race. I think I had a good build up. It was probably good weather. And I never felt like I was running out of gas. I was strong all the way to the end. I probably finished pretty strong. I've had some pretty good races out of Plano Pacers when it gets into the fall
Yeah.
and you get the nice weather and you just, that all the summer training is coming through and it cools off. And it's got a couple of good 15Ks out there getting ready for marathons, the half marathon season. Yeah, I do the shorter stuff, but I think the more memorable stuff is probably the longer stuff because you got a lot of time to deal with it. You got to have a lot of perseverance. You're out there an hour and a half and you got to kind
Okay.
of redline it for an hour and a half. It's memorable.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years ago, I ran that half I was telling you about in Utah. It's the downhill, it's a rebel race.
Okay.
And so it's probably 2,800 feet of downhill for the half marathon. I think it's 5,000 feet of 5,000 feet of for the full, which I don't recommend, but do what you want to. It's fine. But I remember like, I've never ran so fast in my life, like for 6 of those miles. Like I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was because of the downhill, but I didn't know I had that in me.
Yeah.
And so the last 3 miles are really difficult because it was no longer downhill. It was
It was
just
flat.
flat.
And your
Felt
quads are
uphill
shot.
actually. Yeah, it's got hot. But it's those kinds of races I'll remember because when I look down at my time, it was like for me, I had 6:13, 6:14, 6:13, 6:20, 6. I was
Right.
like, holy cow, like I don't so I just I felt, hey, I have that in me. And I ran a really good race like in Houston that next year, which was 2 years ago, I think. 2 years. And it was a fun race. And so I think there's always a race that you'll remember. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably one I'll always
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the memorable things this year, did you run 3M or the Austin International? You said this last
I
year?
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
This last year.
So the
We're
first
both at
water
it.
stop, I think the first water stop, I had a drink of water and it had ice crystals in it. Okay. The
Yeah.
second water stop, it was a solid block of ice. I guess they put the water out the night before. And it got better
Yeah.
as it went on, but that was pretty memorable. The start of that race was pretty memorable, but like the temperature to be 28 or 30 to start is fine for me as long as I know I'm gonna warm up pretty quick.
I started off that race really well. I was really cold. So I remember it just being freezing at first because of the wind. Then it got better. But then my hamstring or something just tightened up at mile 6. So I had to start walking. And probably for not half a mile, but probably like for 6 minutes, I was like, then I started going again and I started feeling a little bit better and then got going again. But that's never happened to me. Like I've never had that happen to me during a race. So
Yeah.
could have been the cold or I don't know what it was.
Could have been sure. There's this pretty good drop over the first 8 miles. So you got a bit of the downhill in Austin too. It feels great when it's going well. And then that
It's
wind
like,
turns into a pretty strong tailwind. When you, after about a mile and a half, you got a nice tailwind for a bit in Austin, which kind of makes it fun too.
that's right. What do you have planned? What's your future of just the same old stuff or what?
Yeah, I don't. My daughter runs.
Okay.
Matter of fact, she's come down and she ran Austin the last couple of years with me, the half marathon. And so she's moved to Chicago about a year ago and she runs up there. And we've talked about doing a marathon, maybe the Chicago Marathon. So maybe I'll do that, but no specific date. But besides that, I look forward to the weather getting cooler and then run Dallas and then probably the DRC, maybe Cowtown. We'll see. And then I enjoy just going out there for some of the bigger races, like St. Patty's Day is a good one in Dallas. I love the turkey trot, but I got a tradition of what I do on Thanksgiving, so I'm not around for it too much. But I like to go to Plano Pacers because I know there'll always be competition out there. You may have somebody come
Always.
out there that's still a strong runner in college, or you know you're going to get some competition. I know enough of the guys, you can pace off of some people. So I like to do that. And then I just like to, a lot of my satisfaction is just challenging myself on a regular basis. I get a lot of feedback and positive feedback from that. I like to say, I tend to do this. One of the things that some people have asked me for advice sometimes is like I do this for every workout, never mind every run. I have 3 goals for every workout or every run. And the first one is going to be, I should be able to accomplish that. I may have to hurt a little bit, but I should accomplish that. The second one's going to be, that'd be pretty good. And the third one's going to be, I use the word heroic. My daughter laughs at it, but third one's going to be heroic. But I'm going to try to get at least the first one. And if things go south on you, you can still get victory 1. And if things really go good 2, and most of the time, though, I hit all 3. But I do that even in almost every workout. So I do that throughout the week. I do that in races, and it helps you stay focused if things go south and still claim a victory. Yeah.
I think that's a good mental state to be. Do you run with community at all with people or is it you
Well,
just do this solo?
because I'm retired. And
Yeah.
so I kind of get up and do my thing and go out. And I have the luxury of not having to work for a living. I go when I want to go, when I want to go. And while I run in any weather, if it's raining, I might give it an hour. And if it doesn't, yeah, okay, I'll go out. And I run
Yeah.
with people sometimes. Up here in Prosper, there's a couple of running groups up here. The real one is the Prosper Running Club. But there was a bunch of other guys that formed a group on Strava, and we used to run like every Wednesday together and run races together. That's wound down some, but so I do most of my running by myself. Yeah. Yeah.
You have your own philosophy. Not a lot of people run like you do. Every other day you're
Oh, right.
basically sprinting.
Right. Yeah. It's not recommended,
Not really
but
sprinting, but
yeah, going hard every other day probably isn't recommended. But
it's funny that you say that because my wife, like on Saturday, I ran 10 miles and I ran fairly fast with the group because they were running about 8:15s to 8:30s. And we did 11 miles. So at 10, I just said, okay, I'm walking the rest. I was so tired.
yeah.
I didn't walk the rest, but I walked most of it. But then Sunday, I always go out and run with Jose
Yeah.
at 6 a.m. on Sundays at
Up there
sunset.
in Norfolk
And
or something.
yeah, yeah, it's at White Rock. And
Yeah.
we go to Sunset Bays where we meet at 6 a.m.
Okay.
So
I know
anybody
Sunset
wants to
Show.
come out. And I was so tired. I guess it was yesterday. And man, and my wife was like, look, Chris, you can't do that on Saturdays if you want to go do 10 miles. I got to get that in sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
not 10, but
Yeah.
so I don't know how you do it. That's pretty impressive. And I'm not sure if it's recommended or not, but it works for you.
It works for me. And there's probably, I wouldn't coach anybody to do it, but it's what I've been able to do. And I enjoy it. And I enjoy the process as much as anything. Like you said, what races you looking forward to? I enjoy running.
Yeah.
I think it's good everybody have something they can do, whether that's running, cycling. I could see how cycling is you can get into cycling a lot. I
Yeah.
like it when I cycle, but I usually only cycle when I'm injured.
I feel
But
like it's dangerous. I like to cycle, but here in Dallas,
yeah, out here in Prosper, it's a little bit less dangerous, I think. Although I ran on I biked today on a lot of trails. It's good to have something to do. And the running for me, it's the process that I enjoy as much as anything else. I enjoy racing. I enjoy just doing it every day and challenging myself every day.
so I have another question around kind of age, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you retired at 55. And
Right.
I've seen a lot of retirees not find something that interests them. And obviously you found running. How important do you think that is? Not just run, whatever it is. I feel like A lot of people retire and they don't have anything to do afterwards, and then
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
bored. Like my neighbors are watching TV all day. I
No,
don't know, and I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're bored as hell. You can tell, and I'm like,
I'm pretty busy all the time.
yeah,
I think what I do is I get to do some of the stuff now that I wish I could have done early, which includes I love reading. I read the Dallas Morning News. I read the Wall Street Journal every day. I read The Economist. I'm pretty involved in my church. I work with the kids at the church. I do work around the house, probably not as much as my wife wants me to do, but I do work around the house. We just got 2 puppies. I don't know why we got them, but we got 2 puppies a couple of months ago, and they're a
puppies,
handful.
oh,
Puppies, Australian Shepherds. I say they're
oh my
puppies. I
goodness.
just weighed them a few minutes ago. They're both 50 pounds already. Now, there's all the stuff for me to do. I have stuff to do all the time. Very little of it involves watching TV.
I love that. That's
I
great.
look, so I'm never bored. I've been just recently, I've said, let me get into AI a little bit. And I don't have to do it for a living, which I know everybody does now, but I use AI to write code that I use in a program to program stuff because
I
I
love
want to
that.
see how efficient can it write code. It's perfect code, error free,
Pretty
no
good.
problem, pretty good. I like to keep on learning and I like to know what's going on in the world and see how the sausage is made in the world,
Yeah.
even though I don't have to
Or
do it
you're an
anymore for a
engineer,
living.
man. That's just,
Exactly. That's what
I
they
get
were
that.
interested in. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd like to see how things connect, even if we don't have to do them anymore. I like to know how pushing on this, the Fed doing this, or the unemployment doing this, or whatever. I like to see how the world's connected around the world and with people. Yeah, I get that. Some people, I've had some friends that have retired and go back to work. I haven't really felt that nudge yet, and I don't think I'm going to.
You now you have a whole entire life of being busy doing different things that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
probably have to give up that you might not
right.
want to give up.
It'd be
So
tough. It'd be tough to do.
yeah.
I've got my routine right now that fills it out in the day. So, I guess you have to, maybe it's without being philosophical, you have to find out what your values are. And while I worked hard in my career, there's other things in life that matter. So I wasn't completely tying my self worth to my career. So I'm satisfied with other things that give me value and that I could contribute in the world.
I love that. And I know it's not about running, but I was very curious because I want to retire when I hit closer to 55 for sure. So I think I'm close. We'll see. But is there anything that I didn't ask about your running kind of career that I should have asked or that you're like, I want to talk about this or anything I missed that you can think
No,
of?
I mean, it's a great community in Dallas. Less right now, I used to regularly drive down to White Rock Lake, even though it was a long drive from Prosper.
Pretty long.
Because early in my career, I lived in Dallas and I worked in Dallas. And I even once had an assignment where they sent me down. I worked at Gaston Avenue at what's now the Tom Thumb over near the Spillway. I worked
Yeah.
down there in a building. It was a TI building back then. So I ran at the
Was
lake
it?
every day.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I knew
awesome.
the Lakewood. I knew the lake. I ran at the lake. So I still would go down to White Rock every couple of weeks or something. And without fail, I see somebody at White Rock that I know running,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. No matter what the day of the week is, I see somebody I know. Now, for me, I shouldn't give away this secret because it'll change, but I live in Prosper. And so I do a lot of running out in the PGA Frisco. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
PGA
nice.
Frisco? It is
I
nice
know they're,
running out there. Yeah. And there's hardly anybody running out there right now. That's why it feels like it's my own place to run. There's a few people, but there is not too much. But I miss going to White Rock and seeing somebody, no matter what, I would see somebody. On Sunday, I know where there's a group of guys that
yeah.
running a TI. When I started running a TI, they're still at the same place at Big Thicket.
Yeah.
Jose and the group going to be up there at Norbuck or now Sunset.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
always see somebody out there, and that kind of keeps you tied into the community. And I think that I've been doing it for 45 years, and I can just go down to White Rock Lake tomorrow and see somebody I've known maybe 30,
Sure.
40 years ago. But that's pretty cool. Or a young person. And I enjoy seeing the young guys because there's a lot of talent in the high school and the collegiate level in Dallas area too. I like seeing them succeed. So that's pretty cool.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up. I brought this up in a couple other episodes, but because you hit on it, was when somebody does something, then everybody wants to do it. There's this guy, Matt Campbell. He has this group called the Sloths or
Oh, the
Completely
sloths, yeah,
Sloshed.
Jennifer,
And
and Brettel, and
yeah,
those guys. Yeah.
all those guys. And one of the goals that he set for him specifically is to hit under 2 hours and 30 minutes for the marathon. There's not a lot of people that do it in Dallas. I'm not saying there's not any, but there's not a lot. But he wants, and he goes, if I do it or somebody in that group does it, then everybody else is going to do it.
I think that's true. I think it's true.
And
Yeah.
and it's just an interesting kind of thought. I was like, that you said it. You just said it earlier, and a lot of people say it. And I think that is so key is that once somebody does it and a community of people do it, then we'll have a lot of people in Dallas doing it.
That's right.
It's a few,
right. I
but
mean,
there's not a lot.
you have a good group of people in Dallas, women-wise, that are Olympic trials.
Like 4 of them
Yeah,
that I know of, or more, actually.
Jennifer Pope and
A woman named Rena. You probably don't know her, but this woman has 11 kids or 9 kids. And she's running 237s, 234s.
Yeah, pretty impressive, right? Yeah, I know when my daughter was in Fort Worth, she was with the group of women over in Fort Worth. There's a lot of talent over at Fort Worth.
Oh, there's a lot. Yeah.
So there's one person sets the standard, and somebody else. I train with them every day. Why can't I do it? You probably can. So it's one thing leads to another, and the barriers. What was a 4-minute mile? A mile was arbitrary. 4 minutes was arbitrarily. But got broke, and now they're running 3:43. So they got high school kids that are running 4, no problem. So
I know.
It's one thing will lead to another, and that's the beauty of it.
You have an Olympic. You have a 15-year-old in the Olympics, basically, almost.
16, yeah. But Cooper,
I thought it was 15, right. 16. Yeah.
He only looks like a 22-year-old. He looks like a man. He's fantastic, though.
He's got a good future potentially ahead of him. Just to stay healthy. Jim, this has been really good. Really appreciate your time, and I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you did too.
I did. I appreciate it, Chris. I appreciate what you're doing. So keep it up. And it's a good way to just share and people know each other and understand a little bit of the history as well as get motivated, I think. So it's a good job you're doing.
Thank you. I'll keep it up. And thanks everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at dfwrunningtalk.substack.com. Until next time. And Jim, thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.